Well, today we have a doozy for you.
Oh, a doozy sounds fun. What's a doozy?
Well, we are diving into something that recently came up. We are talking a little bit about the cervix, but we'll dive into that deeper. Yesterday, we're on a walk.
What happened?
There is this beautiful cloud formation
Oh my gosh.
of a cervix above us.
I'd never seen that. And we're obsessed with the cervix right now. So then to see it in the sky felt like a sign.
And we are walking along and we start talking about a relationship that you had a long time ago. It was between yourself and Barbara Marks Hubbard.
Yes.
And she had a certain quote that you have continued to bring forward, and I thought it was particularly relevant for today.
Beautiful.
As we tell the story of the cervix, the heart, and the head of the penis. Specifically, though, the cervix's role within it.
Yeah. So you want the quote or that later?
Yeah, let's go give the quote. A little bit, maybe a little bit backdrop of that story, in fact.
I mean, she's an incredible woman. She changed the world in so many ways. I didn't know her. I didn't know that she was famous. I knew her sister. And so she came to me kind of sideways
Via her sister?
Through the book Desire that I wrote.
Okay.
And she immediately, as she was reading this book, asked for my phone number, I guess, and she phoned me and left me this really long message saying, I must work with you. And it just was an instant start of a love affair. And I didn't want to charge her. I just wanted to serve her because she's such an incredible...
Like a vocational love affair.
Yeah, it was really incredible. And so in the knowing of her and in the speaking with her, and I did do the last interview she's ever done. That was with me. It was awesome. Before she passed.
Transitioned.
And she brought terms into my life that really impacted me. And one of those terms was there's two, vocational arousal, which I always have with you, but others as well. And it's that feeling of being lit up and just inspired and full of life and vocationally, so whatever we're doing. And it's important that we feel that way vocationally. But the one that's relevant to our talk today is the one that she shared. She goes, Saida, the species isn't just meant to join in their genes, which we've done forever, and we're good at it. We're now at a moment in evolution where we need to learn how to join in genius. And I remember my whole body getting covered in like goosebumps. And then in our walk yesterday, I felt like we took the idea a little bit further, because she was meaning, look out for the people around you and see when you're called to join your genius with this person, because that's going to be needed to help move the planet forward and help people.
And when it's around your vocation, you have vocational arousal, which isn't turn-taking. It's a synergistic energy of mutual vocational arousal that creates more vocational arousal, and that is the joining of genius.
Yeah, so, and it's not just that, because when the geniuses join, you create a new life, something fresh that did not exist and could not have existed if you kept creating in your own solo bubble. And so what I love about this is you were bridging this idea into the very act of sex. And so the episode's gonna dive into that.
Well, to give also a little bit more backstory, we are on our walk. We are seeing this in the clouds, and we're also listening to the
I think
book.
we should show those who can see the video.
All right,
we'll put a little
I'll take that extra
cloud
time
cervix
and love to edit it in there for you so you can
look
see
at
what
the
we're
cloud
talking
cervix.
about. Okay, I'll have to put it over here.
Wherever.
We'll see.
We'll see where the cervix wants to be.
Now, the other thing is that we are listening to a book. Now, that's called
Primal Intelligence.
Primal Intelligence.
Yes.
This is an excellent book, and it was talking about the importance of telling stories and how stories can create transformation. And there is a very particular story that is told when we look at sex as a joining of the genes versus sex as a joining of genius. So, here are the two stories.
Tell me the story.
The joining of genes is the one that we typically hear.
That's the reproductive
That is
part.
the reproductive tale. And this is where then the cervix is pulling itself up and away during orgasm from the battering penis to create a sperm receptacle.
It's one person's definition.
That is how it is described by Sherry Winston in The Anatomy of Pleasure, which is one that is really cited all the time. But just orgasm in general is this
There is that
lengthening
idea,
of the,
yes.
of the vaginal canal. The cervix is pulling up and away, making the sperm receptacle, etc. Now, the part of the battering penis, that is the additional part. But frankly, when you look at like pornography or when most people think of sex, it is a one-directional motion of the penis going tack, 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 tack.
Okay.
All right. Now, the other one is what we will talk about with suction sex. And that is where the cervix is actually coming down, joining up with the head of the penis and actually creating suction on the head of the penis, as well as the penis creating suction from and around the cervix. And so you have this amazing ability to create mutual pleasure.
Yes.
And it isn't something that just happens then in a quick little, several contractions that then lead to a refractory period on either side of the equation, which is typically done through turn taking. But instead, that it is this synergistic thing. So as opposed to vocational arousal, you have relationship arousal that actually creates perpetual sensation, perpetual pleasure, that creates this synergistic effect that really begins to write a whole new story.
Okay.
And this story is one on the joining of genes side, that a woman is there for reproduction and fertility, a man is there for being a provider and safety. Versus the joining of genius, where you have a man and a woman coming together, literally and figuratively, to create mutual pleasure. And then that mutual pleasure invigorates their relationship, their family, and the community and society around them. So those are the two stories, and it all relates back to an understanding of how the bodies join together.
And I'm just clarifying here, you're choosing male, female body, penis, vagina specifically because in the reproductive model, that is the only combination that actually creates a baby.
Yes.
Is the penis, vagina.
And that's where we're rewriting the
Part.
story. But the truth is, we found out that
all bodies can create suction and all bodies can start really moving together for mutual pleasure.
and frankly, the problem around mutual pleasure isn't a male-female problem. It's a misunderstanding or a lack of knowledge or an ignorance around penetration. Because we found this in male homosexual relationships, female homosexual relationships, intergendered relationships, straight relationships, wherever something is going into something else, just in that language yourself, it's one directional.
Yeah.
Because we are talking about the ability on the receiving side to be able to be actively sucking in.
I think you used to call it engulfing.
Engulfing, sucking, swallowing. Tried to find many words that do it, and we've kind of landed on suction because people can
I like
most accurately
enrapture.
view that.
Because
There you go.
Because rapture is like, well, you know what rapture is, but then in rapture also has this word wrap in it where you're wrapping around.
And there's this inwardness as well that happens.
Rapture. I don't
we
know.
can
I'm
call
inventing stuff. But I was so excited yesterday to be on this hike with you, to have that vocational arousal, to see the great cervix in the sky, which was crazy, and to start to make a case as to why would, first of all, a woman want to know about her cervix? Because the other story that I heard all of my life as an adult woman is cervical cancer, cervical changes. So when you go for your pap smear, it's always a bit scary. That's also not comfortable. You can feel cramping sometimes in your cycle, and also for birth, you hear a lot about that. And those are the predominant things. And so the theme predominantly around the cervix is one of either you hear there's no sensation there or it's associated with pain. But most certainly, I have never had a conversation when I was young with a woman who knew more than me that the cervix could be a place.
A portal for pleasure.
A portal for pleasure. And just for fun, as I was driving home yesterday, because then I went out and did errands and I came back and I actually phoned my mother and I wanted to know, like, what was it like just in her own womanhood, her relationship with the cervix? Did she have one? She said, no, like most Most people, like, you don't even really think about it. But once she gave birth, she became really aware of that part of her body. And then she spoke with almost reverence at the depth of pleasure that came from that part of her body. It was a very simple conversation. It was very sweet and intimate, and I'm very grateful that she was willing to answer that question, because I was genuinely curious. And so I think for women, I want to build a case as to why it's so vital that we know this part of ourselves, and what's being left out when we don't understand that part of ourselves. And from your perspective, because you've worked with thousands of women, and this is an area of the body that you've unlocked so much, like literally you've told me sometimes cervixes are like almost folded back, and you've had to like help them, straighten themselves out and bring breath and life back into them, and then the painful periods disappeared or whatever else was bothering a person. So I'd love to build this case, not only for women, also for men, to understand this magical part of a woman's body. I mean, we'll have some client stories, I'm sure, to share of people discovering their cervix and what happens with couples that discover the cervix together, and why it's so meaningful and so powerful.
Yes, because it gives the sensorial experience that is felt in the body, not just in your own body, but as a shared experience with your partner. And that felt experience makes the story real for you. Mm-hmm. And then as you continue to journey down that path of creating more and more of sensation in that way, from the joining of genius, then you start to just have a very different relationship towards yourself in relationship to your partner. In this case, we're going to talk about to the opposite sex, because this is where we are taught typically that, there is such a divide, and men are from Mars and women are from Venus. I was going to say men are from Venus and women are from Mars, but
you never know.
Whatever. What you end up finding, though, is that your bodies actually complement one another, and they even supplement one another, and that merging of the two allows for an emergence of something that wouldn't be created unless you figured out the magic of how to come together.
Literally.
Yes.
Well, the beauty of discovering a cervix, so just give a quick client story. I remember, because I teach women how to be in touch with this part of their body, but we do it in a very gentle way. We start first just feeling, our heart genital connection, and using breath and yawning open the vagina, and like learning how to sip something into our bodies. And so before graduating to a jade egg or something that's external, I always encourage women, first use your finger. You need to reclaim the landscape inside your body. It's not okay that you've never been there, but your doctor has, or your lover has, or a tampon has, and you haven't. So the psyche goes through a really deep process when you make direct contact with this internal tissue. And I remember a client, because I was encouraging, go home, at your own pace, explore, and then come back to class, and she phoned me in chaos. And she's like, I'm just leaving the ER. And I said, oh my gosh, what happened? And she said, well, I did what you said. I did this beautiful practice, and I slowly slipped my finger in, and I was really, it's amazingly interesting in there, and it's soft and gushy. And so she was like, yes, that sounds good. And then,
why are you in the ER?
And then she's like, but then I felt this lump. And I thought, oh my God, I have a huge tumor. And she instantly panicked and thought she had this cancer and it's a big tumor. And so she rushed to the ER to make sure, like how progressed is it? I had no idea. Am I going to die tomorrow? I mean, it really went into a state of panic. And the person who did the pelvic exam had to smile but still stay professional and said, ma'am, you've actually made contact with your own cervix, and it's perfectly healthy. It's actually the tissue's very alive, very beautiful. There's nothing wrong with your cervix. Everything's good. You're very healthy. Please go home. But because it's an area that we are not encouraged to visit, to touch. We don't even know how to do it. And the other, which is what I love about why so much of my appreciation of you and how you've developed your way, which our methods are very synergistic, but you have a very particular way with that inhale push, where it allows a very mobile uterus that is suspended in space, and it's like it is fluid and it can move in so many directions. And through breath, you really teach people like, how can we bring that cervix down into the vagina, not have it be up, bring it down. And when you know how to do this, then it's not like you're not in this uber awkward position trying to reach for the stars. You actually bring your anatomy down to your own finger, which is an exquisite feeling. And I think it's also very empowering, because when a woman learns how to do that, it does translate into the bedroom, into sex.
And what I love about what your practices do is it gets a woman to become familiar with her own body and develop this ability to proactively relax. Now, what I mean by proactively relax, most people go, relax, meaning like just stop doing anything.
Become floppy.
You become passive.
Yeah.
Now, I will speak of being an active receiver, and by that, what I'm saying as a proactive in your relaxation, for her, I'm sure that she just became so relaxed with her body, was simply following the yellow brick road of pleasure. And then what happens is that the cervix naturally comes down. And so then she like touched it and she was like, whoa, what is this? You know,
Yes.
Because a lot of people are not able to touch their cervix with their finger.
Well, give us you always use your nose, but give us like, you often say like when you touch the cervix, because people don't always know like, well, what does it even feel like? I know the very first time I made contact with my cervix, I was absolutely fascinated. And I spent a long time like feeling around, because I was like, whoa, this is inside me. But give us a little, like, I like how you lead the...
Well, I mean, there's two ways of feeling it. I mean, one would be if you were to like touch the nose here, there's a firmness underneath it, and hey.
Your nose is different than mine.
But still, though, you can feel the
the
firm part, the cartilage underneath, and then there's the
squishy
squishiness
part.
that's all around it. And the other way of like, if you were to have an erect penis and then touch the head of it, there's also going to be the squishy part around the firmer part of it in the head.
Yeah.
Now, the cervix itself, when it is not full of much blood flow, when it's just sort of like kind of being more dormant, it can actually have a little bit more of this feel.
A harder feeling?
Up here.
Yep.
And then
probably different times of the month, right?
Completely. Changes different times of the month. In fact, the reason why there is so much pain during a period as opposed to actually having a pleasureful period.
How dare you say such things?
When we first talked about a program named for this, we called it the pain-free period, because we thought people could understand and believe that more than the pleasureful period.
Yeah, we're like, well, let's do a pleasureful period program. And
like, no one's going to believe
and
that.
like, no one's going to believe that. So then we're like, okay, pain-free period. That's still not that believable, but a little bit closer to being believable. But I have to say, and just interrupting, we can go back to the cervix in a second. When I engaged more thoroughly with your, I was, as I said, I was already doing a lot of things on my own naturally, but there's a very specific thing about the inhale push. So as I was engaging more with that, and I also received, I believe, a session from you. My periods after that, it felt like bliss spirals inside the uterus, which was so strange because I'd never had difficult periods up until I did a certain practice, and then they were agony, like on the floor, screaming, crying, agony, awful periods. And that's because the way I was training, I was doing this breath that would lift the pelvic floor and compress down on it, so create this like ball of tension. And I had literally built up a ball of tissue that needed to be broken down. But anyways, learning the inhale push, learning about even more about my cervix and playing with that area of my body even more, led to these blissful, spirally experiences in the uterus during the actual period. That's why I was like, yeah, let's teach about, pleasurable periods, and then we're like, oh yeah, no one's going to believe us. So, however, this is the first point of contact. So womanhood for a woman is usually symbolized by getting your period, your cycle starts, and then now you went from a girl to a woman, you can now conceive. It's a huge step in an evolution of a person. And yet, in that evolution, we rarely have education, celebration, like here's the best ways to have gracious periods, here's how you prepare, here are the types of food that actually help previous, like the week before, so that you're feeling better during. There's all these things that we don't do. There's all this lack of education, and then move all that aside and just go skip forward to the sex bit, and you're still not told anything. So usually the first time you understand your cervix is, ow, and it really hurts. And it really hurts. And like, it can be painful for weeks after.
Which is why you have the narrative of the cervix pulling up and away from the battering penis.
Yes. So going back, you can feel how squishy, there's a lot of give, but as you said, if it's not been breathed into, if it's been ignored, if there's a lot of pelvic tension, there's been a lot of pulling up, as I did in that one practice, then you're harder, there's less blood flow, there's less fluidity, there's less flexibility even probably in all the ligaments and the movement.
Then the cervix actually moves almost from like this part to like this or this part here, because it gets like
super
quite
soft,
squishy.
Okay.
Now, I love that you mentioned that there is natural movement during the period cycle. And my theory is that allowing for full range of emotion through a sexual experience, through everyday life, through doing the different practices we're going to be talking about in the members section, you then, and also in this amazing live opportunity course that we're going to be putting forward for you, which is an actual sequel to what was Awaken the Sensual Woman.
Yes.
We're working on the title, but I'm thinking Enliven the Erotic Woman. So.
Ooh, I like it.
So this is then going to very much focus on specifically the cervix, is that you allow for full mobility throughout the period, throughout the menstrual cycle. And then when you have that, there is easier blood flow. Here, give you a story. Their client's coming over to me to have a vaginal dearmoring session, which is, gloved hands, intravaginally, working with the pelvic floor, learning the general body mechanics of how to either relieve pain, to awaken numbness, or to just invigorate pleasure. And learn how does the body work as a system of pleasure, essentially, as well as a system for releasing pain. Now, just before coming over, and this happened so many times, like above 60%. So I'm kind of wondering how and why this is, but it would almost always, like above 60% of the time, woman kind of calls up, they've scheduled in their session, we're in Denmark, and they're like, just so you know, like, it seems like my period has come early. It is lining up like exactly with the day of our session. Should we just go ahead and postpone this? And I would always say, absolutely not, unless you really want to. And here's why. One, this is going to help you just kind of de-shamify the whole idea that you're bleeding and that this is disgusting. Doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. Secondly, this is a time when normally there's a certain amount of hypersensitivity, there's a certain amount of buildup and pressure and pain that we are going to show you an exercise to be able to actually help you navigate that. And if you can navigate it when you're in pain, then that extra hypersensitivity is going to help you even know and remember better how to do this in every other time of your cycle. So, woman is coming over, and there was times that people would call, but on this particular case, literally, as she's then walking up the stairs, boosh, like the period starts. And it was 3 days early. So it was like, why my cycle? I timed this event so that way it would be before my cycle, but it seems to just sync up with the session.
The uterus like, I know better.
Yes. So go through, take her through the proper body mechanics, the ways to move, breathe, use voice in a very particular way so that you have this synergistic effect. And she had her smoothest period. It was like had very clean, healthy blood. The cycle moved through without having this very long, PMS stage. Just went through the cycle, felt extremely creative, like forces, like kind of like driving into like as she's like feeling her body in a new way. And then it just set up the rest of her month for excellence. And she was like, I can't believe that my period was actually a pleasureful experience. And this has happened time and time again, even with women who are having to take, multiple loads and high dosages of pain medication, being
Yes.
just basically immobilized in their bed.
Usually
And now all
curled
of
up in a ball with a hot water bottle.
Exactly. Trying not to move. This teaches you how to actually move through it and get out of the stuckness.
You know what's interesting? When I was going through that insane agony, it wasn't through a sexual practice. It was through like a very deep qigong practice,
Yes.
a breath practice. But it was creating this pain in my uterus. And it actually brings on menopause, like super early for practitioners if you continue. It didn't do that for me because I discontinued because I was like, I didn't sign up for this level of pain. But one thing that would happen, because I was in so much agony, and sometimes it'd be the middle of the night, I would literally be like a pregnant woman giving birth. I'd have my arms on the bed. I would be squatting down, and I'd be moving my hips kind of like in a figure eight. And it was only barely bearable by this kind of like breathing where the belly was hanging out, and then the moving of my hips was the only thing that was like helping me get through the night. So if I think back, I'm like, oh, there's body intelligence of like sink down, which brings the uterus down. Like then all the breath has to go into this area, and then with the movement, I'm creating more circulation. So there was like an embodied knowing of, okay, well, at least do this to help alleviate some of the pain.
And how is most sex education taught, if it even tends to go a little bit towards pleasure,
Yes.
which it rarely does? It's normally reproductive education. But then the pleasure education that is given out there is about a vagina being tighter, about doing Kegels, squeezing and pulling and squeezing. And then if you go into like, Pilates and any form of exercise, it's typically squeeze and pull up. So again, you're just doing this creating of tension and tightness. We go back to the story of the passing of genes, of the cervix pulling up, the vagina becoming elongated, creating a sperm receptacle. And if you think about it too, when you have a very scary experience, which is what happens when you go into trauma, is everything, what do? Your butthole puckers up, you catch your breath, everything pulls up. So now there is a common story when we look at it from a biomechanical standpoint that is the same, whether it is sex, whether it is training, whether it is trauma. And so then what happens is it's very easy to start to mesh those. And so if you've had a traumatic experience that's especially around sexuality, where you've had this kind of pulling up, tightening, and going into freeze, but then the thing that you're being taught to do, which is to like just let go and surrender, but also like squeeze and pull up, or what happens when you take a vibrator to the clitoris is that everything squeezes and pulls up for you, and this is how you achieve orgasm. Now you have all these stories converging on to the same biomechanics, and the mind or the psyche is like, I don't distinguish between the two of these. And so then you do not go into these deeper meditative states of mutual pleasure, mutual arousal that then allow for the joining of genius. Because as Nicole Prouse speaks about, all of the health benefits actually come in that phase before an orgasm.
Yes, and so the more you can expand and enjoy and deepen that phase, the more benefit you have.
And the more that you start to understand the definition of orgasm, not just being, the 8 to 12 contractions that happen on an average of 0.8 seconds between each other that then increase in latency until termination, meaning that it kind of slows down and stops. And then you go in the refractory period, which is typically like, prolactin goes up, don't touch me, don't want to go any further. Well, there is another way that you can actually start to have, and we speak about it in the episode, The Hollow Orgasm, where there's this almost like reaching out and like the orgasm's being birthed out from you as opposed to pulled up and contracted. And all of this again starts with the female body being able to, in this case, the female body being able to understand the magic and beauty of the cervix when it's able to actually come down to meet and join with whatever it is that it is brought into its own body as opposed to being pushed in.
Mm-hmm. And then for the partner, that same inhale push allows, as you were saying, better blood flow into the male genitals as well. But when both people are breathing in that way together, there's a natural, as you like to describe it, like a twerking back or a moving back, which for both genitals is a fabulous experience. But for a lot of people, they've never really paid attention to that part of the movement. It happens with thrusting, but they're focused on the in versus focused on the out.
Here's the difference. You want to experience this right now?
But you're going to give this to people?
We're going to give this to people here.
Okay.
So, hey.
Hey, you don't even have to be in the members section.
We won't go into the how about translating into the sex right now, but just so that you know the difference of what we're speaking about from an experience standpoint. All right. Well, are you ready?
I hope so. What are we doing?
Well, I'll tell you, before you start this, you might want to pause the video and go and wash your finger.
Okay, my finger's
clean. Your finger's
clean.
not clean.
They're very clean.
It is, so we can go ahead and jump right in. You might even notice there's a little cut right there. I gave everyone an opportunity to go clean. You might have to cut it again if that's what you're doing, unless you want to pick your nose. But anyways, moving along.
Okay.
So, taking your finger.
You're not pointing it at anyone.
You'll be pointing it at yourself, towards your mouth. And there are two ways to experience the finger and the joining of your mouth.
Okay.
All right. So first, we're going to create sensation by bringing and squeezing the mouth around the finger.
Okay.
I'm going to be talking here, so you're going to be primarily the one doing it. So create as much pressure as you can there. And then start to move in and out. And then move faster.
Very uncomfortable.
But try and create as much pleasure as you can with the squeeze, with the movement of fastness.
I think if the squeeze less hard, there's no movement.
And now if you want to create more pleasure, insert another finger in there. Something bigger. Bigger, harder, faster. All right.
It doesn't feel that nice.
Doesn't that sound a little bit how people go around having sex?
Yep.
You have bigger, harder, faster, tighter, more to create more sensation. All right, so you got a certain amount of sensation.
But my lips weren't really lubricating well, so it was like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So if we put a little saliva on there.
Okay.
And try again now. A little bit wetter. But move in, create tightness. It's a little wetter there. Does that feel better?
It feels a bit better when it's wetter.
Feels a bit better. But how does your mouth feel?
Crampy.
Right now? A little bit crampy, especially if you were to continue doing that for anywhere beyond,
a few seconds.
Average of 5 to 7 minutes.
Oh, geez, I would not be able to do that.
Now, let's try another way about this. Go ahead and bring the finger back in. And we'll slow down there. Fast inserter. Let's bring the finger to the side here. And now at the lips, start to suck it in.
Like it's a piece of chocolate?
Yeah, there you go. Go ahead and continue sucking it in. And now from here, start to move the finger, but try and create sensation by increasing that suction, working with the finger movement as well as the mouth.
It's more pleasant because the tongue gets involved.
Oh, okay.
And then there's like different points of suction on my finger. And then the finger's also moving around, so it's creating different sensation. So the mouth and the finger are contributing versus just the finger hoping the mouth has enough to offer it.
And what happened in terms of the lubrication in your mouth or the saliva?
Because the tongue was involved, it was very wet and it was easy to move around.
All right, so there you go. That is literally the difference between friction-based sex, is what we typically see and are taught, versus suction sex.
Awesome.
Which is the system which we have developed where both the finger, or in this case the penis, the strap-on, whatever it might be, and the vagina, the anus, the orifice, the mouth, whatever, are working together to create mutual pleasure, to create mutual arousal, and to tell this story of the joining of genius. Because as you said, your finger started to move differently. Your
Yeah, it's
mouth
like I was
started to move
experimenting and
Precisely.
versus trying to just get something.
And you began to develop this thing that you speak around a lot, which is erotic intelligence, and as well as a sexual sovereignty.
So if you want to explore a little bit more, stay on with us. Come into the membership side. We're going to dive into some juicy how-tos and more stories, because I think the stories of our own and our clients and people in our lives, they're really important to normalize the cervix. And if you're not totally ready to jump in on that level yet, but you want to learn some more, then Embodied Love University, where we have all our foundational trainings. And there's 5 main pillars of that training and tons of videos. You're going to be way ahead of the majority of this entire planet if you learn those 5 things.
You're going to learn how both bodies of both sexes work as not just systems of reproduction, but systems of pleasure. In addition to that, if you are a woman that has a partner that wants to also learn with you, or if you just want to learn this on your own, then check out the program Awaken the Sensual Woman. This is literally a 6-week protocol, 6 practices that you go through that starts to literally awaken the sensuality that is living inside you. You're going to discover the magical sensations of your body as a temple of pleasure, which will then allow you then to come along with us for this new live course that we're going to be doing. Just like Awaken the Sensual Woman was originally a live course, it's now been evergreened. You're going to have the opportunity to go into Awaken the Sensual Woman 2.0, which we're playing with the title still, which would be, I'm thinking, Enliven the Erotic Woman, which is going to be based then not just from the entrance to the cervix, but the cervix throughout to the entire body.
We want to do a series devoted to the cervix so that you feel incredibly empowered, that you actually understand this part of your body and that you benefit from this part of your body becoming an active part of your life.
So if you've done Saida's Jade Egg practices, if you've done Awaken the Sensual Woman, this is really that next step in the evolution of that sexual sovereignty, of that erotic intelligence, as you start to just really enliven this part of your body. And when the first 127 women came through and did the Awaken the Sensual Woman live with us.
I think it was more than that.
How many was it? Right?
I don't know, but it was definitely more than that.
All right, well. The plus 127 women that joined for Awaken the Sensual Woman, this is what they asked for, and this is why we're creating this 2.0, and what has inspired us now to take the next step, do this podcast, and begin to open up the world to this deep introduction. And I love how your mom spoke about it, this reverence to the cervix, because it really does invite you into the understanding of the temple that your body is, and this altar piece that is the cervix.
Well, now we can jump into the juicy bits.
Let's go.
Okay. I wanted to paint the range of, because we kind of know the range of the negativity. I want to paint the range of possibility. Now, we've already done other episodes on the cervix, on trance states, on psychedelic states, on orgasm. So there are other episodes to listen to if this is a topic that fascinates you. But today here, I just want to go over that range and do some storytelling, perhaps also speak to something we could do, some hows. But one of the ranges so when I made first contact with, it wasn't only the sensation on my fingertip that I was fascinated with.
Let's continue this conversation in the explicit portion of the podcast. To do that, upgrade now.